All right, now into the news outlet. Let's check out what is actually of business and the other news. It starts to that. And of course, we're going to start from the Ministry of Higher Education as well. And check this out. As according to according to installments that actually come from there, is that government is set to give out loans to students who are continuing as well as new applicants, worth 1,500 new applicants and 100 continuing students are going to get from this particular share. Now, this means that this will actually take in place for the students who are going to report, who have applied for the 2021-2022 academic year. Pedersen Mombere reports.
The Higher Education Students Financing Board was established in February 2014 by an Act of Parliament of 2014 with a mandate to provide loans and scholarships to Ugandan students to pursue their higher education. During a media briefing, Michael Wanyama, the Executive Director, Higher Education Students Financing Board, announces to prospective applicants that the board is now open for application from eligible Ugandan students who have been admitted for the academic year 2021-2022. According to Wanyama, the Higher Education Students Financing Board, through the government of Uganda, has set aside 6 billion to support 1,500 new cohort of student loan beneficiaries and 100 continuing students.
We are here to announce the call for the student loan applications for this year, 2021-2022, starting today. And we are saying the board received the funding from government totaling 6 billion to support 1,500 new cohort of student loan beneficiaries and at least 100 continuing students in the academic year 2021-2022. This is the first of its kind when we are supporting the continuing students who are in their final year. And we hope going forward we shall start supporting all continuing students, whether in second year, third year. But for this year, we're only supporting those that are in their final year. Could be you are doing a 5-year course, so you must be in your 5th year. If you are doing engineering 4 years, you must be in your 4th year. 3 years, you must be in your 3rd year. And those doing a diploma of 2 years, you must be in your final year of 2nd year. So the total number we are supporting this year is going to be 1,600. I therefore announce to all prospective applicants that the board is now open for applications for the 8th cohort of the study loans under the student loan scheme from eligible Ugandan students who have been admitted under the listed undergraduate diploma and degree programs for the academic year 2021-2022 in all public universities and private chartered universities and the listed other tertiary institutions.
The students' loan shall cover tuition fees, functional fees, and any other fees required by the higher loan institutions, as well as aids and appliances for persons with disability. However, an applicant must not be a beneficiary of any other scholarship or funding opportunity.
The student loan shall cover tuition fees, functional fees, and any other fees required by the higher learning institution. However, the loan further covers aids and appliances for persons with disability. Say, if you have a disability and you can't afford to walk and you want a walking stick, we support you to do that. We are even paying for interpreters for persons with a disability of hearing. We pay even for the interpreters. So that falls under aids and appliances. So a student is expected to cover their welfare expenses. We cover what supports a learner to be in a classroom. Then the other expenses that differ from one person to the other in terms of accommodation, books, welfare is currently covered by the learner themselves. For obvious reason that we don't want to make the loan too huge to be unaffordable to the applicant. And secondly, to ensure that the amounts that we have cover a sizable number of applicants. Student loans shall strictly be awarded to the students joining higher education.
Applicants were therefore strongly warned against falsifying information and forged documents to support the application process. Among the requirements needed include a copy of the admission letter, national ID, a recent passport, among others. The loan application process is still online and is available through their websites, which is hesfb.go.ug. Pedson Mumbere, Smart 24.
All right, now the financing board from the Ministry of Higher Education, together with the government, has actually solved it wise to see that these students, more so the continuing students, let's say if you're if you're doing a 5-year course and you're in your final 5th year, you should actually be able to access university, and the government is actually willing to support over 100. That is the financing board from the Ministry of Higher Education is willing to actually finance and facilitate 100 continuing students plus 1,500 new entrants or fresh students or the freshers from the different universities and tertiary universities as well. Now, these particular finances would cater for the tuition plus the functional fees and also any other issue related to studying apart from the welfare. So the students or the learners will actually take care of the welfare, let's say their clothing and other necessities that they would need. But according to the financing, it is actually because if they add the welfare, it will be an overboard for the government to actually cater for all those students. And in the same way, these finances will also cater for, let's look at the students, the deaf or the dumb, the students who actually cannot actually speak or talk, who have interpreters during their course, their different course units or during their lectures. So all these will actually facilitate more of those services as well. Now moving on, after being publicly listed onto the Uganda Stock Exchange, MTN Uganda launched the initial public official, and it is actually going after MTN Uganda is actually in the road of being listed publicly on the Uganda Stock Exchange. But during that, on Monday, on a fruitful Monday, or the 11th of October, MTN Uganda launched the initial public offer during a conference that was happening in Kampala. And here, MTN Uganda is set to sell shares as low as 200 Ugandan shillings. And according to the MTN CEO, Wim Analapute, said that one can cease to be just a subscriber by buying more than 500 shares worth 100 Ugandan shillings of MTN's shares at stake to become a shareholder. More of the details.
Because a few weeks ago, in partnership with the USC, with the approval of the CMA, we have opened a MIPO platform that by means of USSD or via the MTN Mobile Money app, you can open your SCB account, and now since this morning, 10 a.m., you can also apply for MTN shares using your phone via USSD.
MTN Uganda Limited has announced the opening of its initial public offer IPO of 20% of its ordinary shares following approvals by the Capital Markets Authority of Uganda, CMA, Uganda Securities Exchange, USE. The event that happened from Kampala Serena Hotel had representatives Stanbic Bank Uganda with CEO Andrew stating that the prospectus opened on Monday 10 a.m. and will run for 6 weeks and close on the 22nd November 4 p.m. and it will focus on Ugandans' fast-spending applications, East African individuals and foreign investors.
First, and it will be a waterfall. We will start with Uganda individual retail subscribers. So any Ugandan in your own capacity, you transition from being a subscriber or a supporter of MTN into being an owner, you ought to feel good, and we will give you first priority. The second part of that is for Ugandan professional investors. Again, Uganda first. We will start with Uganda individuals and go into Uganda professional investors. This is where all the circles lie. This is where all the investors and the companies lie. From there, we are remaining true to our East African principles, and we will open that to applicants from the East African Community Partner States, who will also be given a privilege. So it's a waterfall. Individuals first, Ugandan individuals first, Ugandan investors second, East African individuals, and then East African companies, and after that, we will open to foreign investors. In case of an oversubscription, we will allot Ugandan individuals first up to 5 million shillings, and after that it will be prorated.
The offer to facilitate the broadest possible shareholder base in Uganda, with Ugandan retail investors making applications for offer shares of an minimum value of 5 million Ugandan shillings to be allocated the full number of offer shares for the minimum value applied for. The CEO of MTN, Wim Putei, noted that MTN will sell 4.5 billion of the shares to the general public, as low as 200 shillings per share. The minimum quantity 500 shares means that with 100,000, one becomes a shareholder with MTN Uganda.
Yeah, 200 shilling is the price of one share. The minimum amount of shares that want to apply for is 500. Okay, so that gives you 100,000 shillings. So anybody who wants to participate will have to participate and apply for shares for at least 100,000 shillings. Okay? Now, if you want to apply for a million or 100 million or 1 billion or whatever amount, of course, there are the traditional channels through your brokers that will, assist you, give advice, and also do all the necessary paperwork. But customers, MTN customers in particular, can use the platform, the MIPO platform, and they can apply for 5 million Uganda shilling per day. There are certain restrictions when it comes to payments that are, related to the mobile money platform. But every day, Ugandan will want to apply for shares. They can do that from today. Today, 11th of October, all the way until 22nd of November, every day an MTN customer will be able to apply for 5 million Uganda shilling for 42 days in a row. If they want to build up a portfolio of more than 200 million, they can use the MIPO platform, but it is restricted to 5 million a day.
A unique digital channel will be available to retail investors, IPO subscription, MIPO portal accessible via USSD and via My MTN app. Traditional payment channels will also be available across Uganda, Stanbic Bank, Absa Bank, and Standard Chartered Bank branches and authorized selling agents.
As little as 100,000 Uganda shillings, you have a chance to be a shareholder in MTN Uganda. You cross immediately from being a subscriber to being an owner of MTN Uganda, for as little as 100,000. The transaction advisor and lead sponsoring broker is SBG Securities, and the use of proceeds, which is very important as well to mention, that all proceeds of the offer, net of the related expenses, will accrue to the selling shareholder, who is MTN International. Should you wish to obtain a copy of the prospectus, which I advise that you do, please go on to the MTN website. It's already uploaded and available for your use.
MTN Uganda started operating in 1998, and it became the first privately owned telecommunication operator in Uganda. Since then, has championed different initiatives which include launching 3G, 4G, and lastly, the 5G internet services in Uganda. In the first half of 2021, 14.9 million subscribers, 8.6 million mobile money users, and 4.7 million active data users. Joram Paul Sonko, Smart 24. For as low as 200 Ugandan shillings, you can get yourself a share in MTN Uganda. And if you want to become a shareholder, and you cease to be just a subscriber, and you want to get a share, to be a shareholder in MTN or a partner with MTN or to become an owner of MTN Uganda, what you need to do is buy shares worth 500 shares, which is roughly 100,000 Uganda shillings, to actually become a shareholder. So, or they call you one of the shareholders of MTN Uganda. So you are not you're the owner, but you are one of the few owners at the back of MTN Uganda. So you've clearly seen some of the companies that have always been publicly listed, and they have a number of shareholders in there, and MTN Uganda now is also going to follow suit as well. And with 200 Uganda shillings, you can definitely get that. There was some of the events that was actually happening down in Kampala, where MTN Uganda was launching the initial public offer, which means the Ugandans can actually access shares from MTN Uganda. Now moving on with the increasing change in climate in the world. Smart24 TV has also joined a number of key players in the economy as well as key private sector players to see that we champion the cause of the climate change, because clearly climate change can affect the environment. This depends on if you look at the different situations of deforestation or the different activities, human activities that happen and affect it. And speaking of a fight to safeguard the environment and the world atmosphere, the UK government is to invest 56 trillion Ugandan shillings into climate change in Africa. And this is actually a move to see that they champion it among the developing countries, which Uganda is inclusive. More of the detail.
The United Kingdom has committed 11.6 billion US dollars, that's approximately 56.5 trillion, for the next 5 years to mitigate the impact of a number of climate-related projects, especially in developing countries, including Uganda. The funds are part of the 2015 Paris Agreement, where global powers promised to make up to 357 trillion available annually to combat climate change and its impacts. Ms. Janet Rogan, the UK COP26 regional ambassador for Africa and Middle East, said that UK, which is chairing the COP26, has made the commitment ahead of the conference and has encouraged other developed countries to fulfill their obligations. According to Ms. Rogan, Boris Johnson, the UK Prime Minister, pledged to double the amount of finance that's available for climate to 11.6 billion US dollars over the next 5 years, saying that they have doubled their contribution. Ms. Rogan said that both countries have contributed about 186 trillion, a figure which has remained stagnant for the last 5 years.
All right, now look at the situation of the climate change and the human activities that are actually being carried out by the people. It is actually going to damage the future of our environment. Look at deforestation. If at all you carry out the deforestation without carrying the reforestation, those are some of the terminologies that we added way back in primary. The deforestation, cutting down of tree station, making sure you uproot what you've deforested. And in the same way, we are trying so much to actually protect the environment. And in this cause, the UK government joined the suit among other companies, among other countries rather, that took an initiative in 2015 to make sure that they will be thinking and investing in the cause for the climate countries, more so in the African continent. So clearly that is the same situation. And what we do expect, each and every day that comes by, there's some activities that humans actually carry on, which greatly affect the environment. And these have actually such activities pose a threat to the future of the generation that we're actually upbringing. Because at the end of the day, if you destroy what they can actually use in the future for the activities and for the day-to-day facilitation of the activities, it would actually be creating a non-friendly environment for them. So that is the cause and the fight to protect the environment in the fight to safeguard the climate as a journey into the climate change. All right, now let's head to the international scene, and we start off from Kenya, as Kenya has topped China funded projects in terms of the countries before even the deadline. Now look at this. In most cases, Chinese companies have actually been carrying out different projects in African countries. Most probably, Kenya's projects have always been completed even before the deadline. And that is how Kenya tops Chinese funded projects. Let's have a look at this story.
The report established 5 projects in the country were done ahead of deadline between 2013 and 2017, putting the country top among countries which have benefited from China's Belt and Road Initiative. The links are contained in a report titled Banking on the Belt and Road, which covered 13,427 projects worth $843 billion in 165 countries, all funded by China over 18 years. Kenya is followed Indonesia, Mongolia, and Cameroon, which separately had 3 projects done ahead of timetable, while Cambodia, Laos, People's Democratic Republic, and Zambia had 2 projects each. China has over the last 2 decades established itself as a financier of first resort for many low and middle income countries, providing record amounts of international development finance. According to the researchers, Beijing's lending and grant-giving activities, however, remain shrouded in secrecy. They added, despite China outspacing the US's development finance program, committing about $85 billion every year, the researchers have singled out $3.5 billion, $307.1 billion under prevailing exchange rates, 475 kilometer Mombasa-Nairobi standard gauge railway, funded more than 85% by China's Exim Bank for having built astonishingly fast pace. The Sigara, which was Beijing BRI flagship project in Kenya, was completed 18 months ahead of schedule, having been started on December 12, 2014 and completed on May 31, 2017 as Mr. Kenyatta raced to have it done ahead of his successful re-election bid. China's influence on the country's infrastructure development started in the earnest with the construction of the Thika superhighway between January 2009 and November 2012 at a cost of nearly $32 billion during the last term of President Chibaki. CRBC, a subsidiary of China Communications Company, has gotten the lion's share of Kenya's mega infrastructure deals besides Sigara projects, which the firm says have helped build economic and trade ties as well as promote the friendship between Kenya and China.
I would love to be in Kenya. This country is lucky, you know. Imagine if you look at some of the funded Chinese projects that take time until they are actually completed. Look at they just completed Entebbe Express Highway, which I think some other routes are still being constructed as well. But these are all Chinese funded projects in Africa as well. And Kenya, which also had the standard gauge railway, which was funded by the Exim Bank of China, had got completed in the shortest period of time. And I think it's because the president, Uhuru Kenyatta, who was an incumbent by then, was actually coming back for the election. Maybe use it as an opportunity, campaigning strategy as well. So Kenya is actually leading the funded Chinese projects that have actually been prevailing in Africa. You definitely know how much Chinese companies have actually been funding different projects in Africa. Look, even in Uganda, there is that Mukono Katosi Wood. There is also some other bigger projects. Talk about the express highway as well. So everywhere you go, you find a Chinese somewhere. You will definitely know that that particular company which signed the contract is a Chinese company. That means it is a Chinese-funded project in Uganda. But not only in Uganda does this happen, but it also happens Africa-wise. It happens across the continent. Now, meanwhile, away from that, but still in Kenya, or in terms of the international news, Kenya's coffee production has fallen for a second year running, and this means it is actually behind key lead exporters of coffee in Africa as Uganda, Ethiopia, even Tanzania. And one would ask why, because the market, more so in Brazil, has also been inflating. Let's have a look at this report.
Kenya coffee production dropped for 2 consecutive years, pushing the country further behind Africa's top producers of the commodity, whose price has rebounded in the international market. Latest International Coffee Organization data for the 1 year to May 2021 shows that production fell from 930,000 60-kilogram bags in 2018 to 775,000 in the 2020 crop year. The falling production in recent years has been caused by the conservative of coffee farms, other more lucrative crops and real estate projects, outdated farming practices and climatic changes. Kenya is the 5th largest producer of the coffee in Africa behind Ethiopia, 7.8 million bags, Uganda 5.62 million bags, Ivory Coast 1.78 million bags, and Tanzania 913,000 bags. Higher prices are, however, gives a reason to smile despite the lower production, with lower production in Brazil, the world's leading coffee grower, helping boost prices. Currently, the price of coffee at the New York Stock Exchange, which is used as a benchmark for all world prices, is at a high dollars per round from 144 cents in April. Brazil has had drought and therefore they are having problems in all the things that they are growing, including sugar, soya beans and coffee. According to Governor Patrick Njoroge, in the 8 months to August, coffee exports have grown by 15.2% to 20.1 billion shillings, helped by the higher global prices and lower supply from Brazil.
As coffee production in Uganda used to blossom, one of our neighbors in the land of Hakuna Matata in Kenya seems to fall year in and year out. Where is the problem mainly? Is it COVID or some other situation? More and more will be coming your way in the news hour. But that brings us to the end of the news hour. Coming up shortly, I have the Hamish Chigundu book review. Keep it SMB.